Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to be here today with Premier Berejiklian and, of course, Commissioner Fitzsimmons. And can I thank both of you for the extraordinary job that you've been doing in what has been a very difficult fire season here in New South Wales, starting early and very prolonged. Can I also thank all of those who continue to be out there today, who have been out there over the Christmas period in particular. Can I also say that is occurring, of course, here in New South Wales, but in more recent times, we've also seen this threat extending to South Australia, where I was earlier this week, and we're seeing a real difficult situation emerging in Victoria. We know of the weather conditions particularly changing over the next few days, which will see not only those very severe conditions here in New South Wales, but also in South Australia, in Victoria, and in Tasmania. Being a New South Welshman, I'm obviously very focused on the terrible events that have been occurring here, but I want to assure those Australians outside of New South Wales that the challenges that they are facing in their states, as was the case up in Queensland earlier in the season, that our attention is equally there, and ensuring that the coordinated effort across states and territories is being put in place. So I want to thank all of those, and as the messages, I'm sure the Commissioner and the Premier, when they speak, will go into what we can expect over the next few days. Stay safe, check the information provision that has been provided at a state level through the incredible communications efforts that they're making, but also, I've got to say, when I visited the incident response centres, the local messaging that is taking place in each of the communities, whether it's out in Mudgee or out in southwestern Sydney or on the south coast, or earlier in the year up in Taree and Wauchope and places, has just been extraordinary. The efforts that have been undertaken to ensure that people are informed of what's going on. Premier advised me that last night was at Gladys, that meeting down on the south coast, and I want to thank all those community members for just the very good-natured, patient way that they're engaging and receiving that information and making decisions. Today, having received a request from the New South Wales Government and working closely with the Commissioner here and the Premier and, of course, the Minister for Emergency Services here in New South Wales, earlier in the week, the Minister raised at the Commissioner's request that we consider looking at the issue of income loss here in New South Wales. And we have been working on this for some time. The Commonwealth has been working up various options and, importantly, taking our lead from those who are directly responsible for fighting these fires, and that's Shane, that's the Commissioner. And taking advice on the priorities from our states as to where this effort should go and how it should be targeted has been very important. As this is a very prolonged fire season, this is putting additional demands on our firefighters in particular. And it means that the turnouts and the call-outs have been far more extensive than in previous years, going well and beyond and above what is normally expected of those who are engaged in volunteer service. And I've got to say, particularly when I've been outside the cities and seen the impact, particularly in rural communities, on farmers who are dealing with drought during the day and dealing with fires at night and through the afternoon, this is obviously having a very big impact. So we have carefully worked through how best to deal with the issue of income loss that has been suffered as a result of people stepping up to defend their communities and work shoulder to shoulder with those who are seeking to put an end to these fires as quickly as they possibly can. We have drawn on previous experience that has been put in place by the Commonwealth on earlier one-off occasions, and we have developed, I would argue, a more targeted and an even more extensive response. What the Commonwealth will be doing, together with the states who will administer the payments, is to be providing payments for income lost by firefighters, rural fire service volunteers here in New South Wales. That will be paid with a maximum of up to $6,000 per individual. It will be paid at a maximum rate of $300 per day, depending on what the income loss is for those individuals. It will be a non-taxable payment, so obviously the gross level, if you're looking at your earnings, is much higher than $300. It's about $420 or thereabouts of what they would otherwise have been earning on a gross basis during that time. It is retrospective for this financial year, so for all of those who are already called out, particularly up in those mid-coast and north coast fires that we saw earlier in the season, they will be also able to make a claim through the New South Wales State Government to access that payment. What this basically equates to is around 20 days of emergency services paid leave for self-employed people and for people working for small and medium-sized employers. That represents about 60% nationally of people who work in this country and have employers. And this will be supported through those direct payments on application. I should stress, this isn't about paying volunteers for turning out to fires. That's not what this is about. The volunteer arrangements that exist not just here in New South Wales but all across the country are incredibly important. What this is doing is recognising that in extreme cases like we've seen here in New South Wales, on an advice from the Commissioner, it is necessary to ensure that we can provide this safety net for income loss to ensure that he is in a position to continue to call out this volunteer force and for them to be able to be there on an ongoing basis without suffering ongoing financial loss. This is about helping fight the fires. We will still always have volunteers who will go out and selflessly volunteer, and that is crucial to our firefighting effort, whether it be here in New South Wales or in any other state or territory where these calls are being made. This is about addressing the issue of income loss to enable those, and I would say particularly in rural and regional areas, to farmers, to tradies, to contractors, to others who have been called out day after day after day. Because the fire has been literally lapping at their back door on many occasions, and they've gone out to serve their community. So I particularly want to thank the Premier. I want to thank Minister Elliott as well for having raised that on behalf of the Commissioner with me earlier, and I want to thank the state government for working really closely with us to make sure you get this right. I don't do things in any knee-jerk way. I carefully consider what the issue is, what needs to be addressed, how you can best target the measure to get the best response, and to work consultatively with those who are working on the ground to make sure that it works. Now, I should also stress that this same payment will be available to other states and territories if premiers and ministers wish to initiate that with the Commonwealth. Obviously, the situation in New South Wales is more extreme than it has been in the other states and territories, but I've spoken to the other premiers and spoke to the Queensland Premier in particular last night, and I expect that we'll have a conversation soon about these matters. I'm pleased that the situation in Queensland has significantly been improved, but that doesn't mean that those who suffered income loss earlier in the year in Queensland shouldn't be entitled to this same level of support and recognition of that service, and so I'm sure we'll work through quickly on that. But in this case, we are working specifically with New South Wales at the direct request of the Commissioner. I want to thank him again for raising these issues, and as issues continue to be raised, we'll continue to make decisions, we'll continue to make responses. Early this week, as you know, I announced the 4 weeks emergency service leave for all Commonwealth Public Service employees. We also announced new arrangements for our Defence Forces to lean in more directly, particularly at the local level, to ensure that Defence Force support is being provided at the local level. And now we've taken this decision. They've been taken calmly, they've been taken getting the policy details right and working consultatively. I'll hand over to the Premier. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you.